Welcome back. This is the second installment in a series of talks with my former teacher, James Piorkowski, on his tools for productive practicing, a collection of strategies and techniques you can apply in your practice and study of your instrument to ensure that you are solving problems and achieving your goals. You can download a PDF of the full list of tools on Jim's website, link in the description. Let's continue. Well, since you mentioned it, should we talk about the next
item on the list? We'll talk about left hand and right hand alone.
Yeah, so the next two on the list are really one thing.
Right, separate physical approaches. You know, there's a maxim that you could say when we're learning, divide and conquer. Mm-hmm. So what we just talked about, melody, you're dividing, abstracting or extracting the melody and singing it by itself. So you're dividing the musical layers. But physical separation, just doing with separate hands, is also really helpful. And I was telling you earlier that I was looking at some pieces that I wrote in they were published in 2006. So they were written 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And these set of preludes. And I was applying left hand alone today and practicing as I revise this prelude number 3, which mm-hmm. is subtitled Dream Interrupted. And I was reminded of really how simple the left hand is. And I'm going to just show you my left hand in this piece. Mm-hmm. So this is measure 1 mm-hmm. and measure 2 and measure 3 and measure 4 and then measure 5, I do that.
Yeah.
And measure 6, I do that. Measure 7, I substitute the fingers on the same notes. And then measure 8, I do that. And it was like, oh my gosh, this left hand is easier than I remember.
It's like there's like nothing to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyways, in doing my left hand alone with this prelude, there wasn't much going on. Mm-hmm. And then with the right hand, if I just mute the strings, which is the same thing, right? But then when you hear all of it come together, it sounds so much more complex than it actually is for each separate hand. Mm-hmm. And so on and so on. And if you just listen to that, it sounds pretty complicated. But if you break it down with separate hands, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing we can backtrack for a little bit is with singing.
Yeah.
So we have this accompaniment in this piece, this ostinato. And what I would do, and what I do is I'll sing that. La, la, so, while I'm playing the accompaniment. Or I won't play the melody at all, and I'll just sing it. So I'm accompanying myself singing. Mm-hmm. So trying to get the understanding of these different layers going on at the same time, the counterpoint. And again, you're giving your brain a chance to understand. And that should be underscored in your practicing. If you're just trying to force too much into the brain at one time, it's just going to lead to some confusion. Definitely not clarity.
Yeah.
And what we want is clarity. We want to be able to know exactly what's going on in every aspect of it so we can musically shape what's going to be coming out of the guitar. And if we don't have that understanding, it's really hard to shape it.
Right. Right.
So separate hands are, again, they're one of those tools that really are very helpful for building a piece. So you're learning just what the left hand is doing, maintaining a piece, refreshing a piece, strengthening your knowledge of the piece. And any of these, like you can rotate these tools in different days of your practice through the week and, just shift your mindset a little bit so that you're not bored, right? I also have a commandment, if you will, extended from the Ten
Should have worn the
Commandments.
T-shirt. I should have worn the T-shirt. Oh, man.
So our listeners here might know of the Ten Commandments about don't murder and don't steal and all that, those good don'ts. But I have an 11th commandment, which is thou shalt not be boring. But that also is important for us to practice in a way that we're not boring ourselves, that we're stimulating our brain, we're challenging ourselves, refreshing ourselves. So these tools can be rotated on different days, like every third day you do the right hand alone or whatever, especially if you've already know the piece, but you're trying to challenge some other aspect of it. So these first three are at the top of the list because they're just so crucial and so helpful in building what we're doing.
Yeah, left hand alone and right hand alone. It's like that's a classic practice approach for like pianists, right? And because so much of just the nature of playing the instrument is like we got some accompaniment over here and we got some melody over here generally, and it's just pulling apart the music, but also just kind of trying to do something that requires less coordination. And it's almost backwards on the guitar because like in a way it requires more coordination to do it with one hand alone because you're not hearing the entirety of the music.
That's right.
When you're playing it. I always thought right hand alone was really hard because you're hearing all the wrong notes.
That's right.
That's
right. That's why sometimes just doing this, if you're going to play, say, Villalobos Etude 1.
I was just going to say that example, yeah.
Do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Or like Brouwer 6 or something. It's really, it's really, I use that one with my students a lot, and I tell them, especially with pieces that have just like a repeating arpeggio pattern in the right hand, Brouwer 6 is right,
Right.
And it's just that for a while,
Yeah.
And I always prefer to mute the strings, just deaden them when I do right hand alone, because then the open strings aren't distracting, and you can really hear just like the articulation in the attack, and like the clarity,
And you can also take a foam mute, which I know you do.
Yep, I still have it. I still have the one you gave me.
And put it under the strings and do the same thing. Yeah. So depending on the thickness of the mute, you get less sound.
Yeah.
One other little aspect about the separate hands dividing and conquer. My son Ben taught himself to juggle, and he asked me. He said, "Dad, do you know how many balls you start when you juggle? How many you use?" I said, "No, 2." He said, "No, 1." He said, "You start with 1 and you pass it, and you get the speed of throw and catch, the arc, the reception here, and then you introduce the second one." And I was thinking, well, it's the same thing with guitar, right? You got to know what one hand is doing, and then the other hand, right? You start with one hand in these places. The other thing you'll often find when you're doing like one, especially the left hand, is that fingers can stay where you didn't realize they could just wait there for the next usage of it in the same spot. It's coming around again. Why lift it and try to find it again?
Yeah.
So there's all these little revelations that still make me joyful. Like, oh my gosh, there's one less percentage of work I have to do.
I think these are going to come up later with exclusively observing each hand too, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And while we're on this right hand alone, for example, the next tool is rhythmic variation.
Right.
And so, like, especially something like the Brouwer, where it's all 16th notes, doing rhythmic variation, just dotting the first of each pair and making it a bit like a cowboy song, right? Or a swing rhythm, right?
Yeah.
Or inverting that. Or triplets. There we go.
Case in point, people. Yeah.
Right? And what you're doing is you're forcing the brain to make these little chunks, these little gestures. And again, you like in that last one where I screwed it up, I got to go back to the A finger on the first string right there. And that's a little light shining on information you didn't have before.
Yeah.
So it serves that as a little bit of an insightful aspect, and it also gives you little speed bursts.
Yes.
So, if this is the tempo for a quarter note, and then I do the simple dot, I have a pair of notes that are quick.
Yeah.
Right? And then I could shift those pairs. Then if I take this metronome and I speed it up and I do it straight, I'm actually playing about at the tempo I did with those little dotted notes, right?
Yep.
So you sort of fool yourself, like you're tricking yourself into getting faster.
It is,
by just getting faster in small increments of the pattern. And again, also, it's fun. You change it and it becomes interesting. You're not boring yourself. You're keeping your brain working and challenged. Mm-hmm. And also, if you do it really strict and these rhythms are really accurate, when you want to add rubato, you have the control because you've done all sorts of permutations of rhythm, right?
Yep.
So if you want to, I'll take the mute out for a second, but if you want to delay the first note a little bit and then accelerate and do some romantic kind of shaping on it, you have the ability because you've done all of these rhythmic drills. Mm-hmm. So all of that is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
And fun. I find it fun. If you're a guitar nerd or music nerd, you're going to find it. It's going to be fun.
My teacher, who I studied with after you, Stanley Yates, he would always talk about doing this kind of thing too, mm-hmm. With rhythmic variation, and he described it similarly. It's a way of practicing fast and slow at the same time, because
mm-hmm. Good way of putting it.
Yeah, if you're just doing, if you're just doing the, I'll play the actual notes. It's like every other pair of notes is at speed.
That's right.
Or above speed.
Right.
So, but the caveat is if you're going to do it that way, you got to do it the other way too, where you make the opposite pair of notes at speed, right? So then, which is always harder because it feels a little more stilted, right?
Right. It goes against
it. That don't swing, It's
That's right. And actually, this is true. A composition that I wrote last year, and I was learning to play for a recording that just came out. Mm-hmm. I was applying a swing rhythm to this one section that I was having trouble playing clearly. And I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds better than a straight rhythm. And I changed the composition.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Because it was like this little interlude of a little subdued swing vibe going in this little passage. And it just seemed to be a nice intermezzo, if you will, within the whole structure of the piece. So a lot of times, we discover things by just experimenting,
by just playing around, yeah.
Just playing around. And so it's fun, and sometimes you find some keepers,
Matt Downey, former classmate, used to always do this with the 996 Bore, which is... Anyway, again, not a piece I play much anymore. But he'd always say, "Oh yeah, play it with a calypso rhythm," which is hilarious,
That's great.
But it's which is kind of like how Jethro Tull played it, I think.
Well, that was more swing. They definitely didn't do that syncopated calypso thing. But
Yeah.
They, it's such a great bass line. It's like perfect bass line. Yeah. And if you swing that, all of a sudden you got a jazz tune.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you this story. Like on Friday nights, we would used to go to this restaurant in town in Fredonia, the Brick Room, and we would like a couple of us in the studio would just play for a couple hours for tips and free meal. Devin Kelly and I were there, and I was sitting at the bar, and he was like right here next to me playing, and he was playing the what is it, 998
Prelude.
yeah. So he looks over at me, he's like, I'm going to do something really stupid. And I'm like, okay. And he goes like, whatever. And he played the whole piece like that. Just like,
that's great.
Just like off the cuff,
Yeah, that's awesome.
And of course, nobody in the restaurant knew that he was just screwing around with this piece. The whole thing is just triplets. And I'm sitting there cracking up because, like, I know he's just being.
It turns it into a cartoon soundtrack when you do it that way.
Yeah, and but I mean, I that always stuck with me because, like, I mean, he was getting that piece ready for his recital, but the fact that he could just, off the cuff do that with that piece. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't the first time, but it's probably an indicator of like how well he knew the music if he was even able to just do that.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see the documentary, the redo of the Beatles' "Let It Be" it was Get Back? It was released.
I know of it. I haven't watched it, but I know of it. Yeah.
So I think about this exact thing that we're talking about frequently because when they're the Beatles are messing around on a song they're writing, and Paul McCartney will all of a sudden make it a samba, or something that we don't know the piece as, and that's basically what we're talking about. Like they knew the piece so well that they could do different tempos, different rhythms, different feels, and again, there were times when something that they goofed around with was a keeper. Oh. That sounds better than our original concept,
Yeah.
So the idea of just having fun with music, yeah. Come on, let's do it.
Imagine that.
Yeah, right.
Wait, this is supposed to be fun?
Right. So rhythmic variation is one of the fun. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but it's definitely one of the fun tools of application.
All right. Thanks for watching. Again, you can get a PDF of Jim's tools on his website, linked down below. If you have any thoughts, questions, or experiences you'd like to share related to anything we talked about, please feel free to leave a comment. In the next segment, we'll be talking about discovering the composer's intent, a very important topic. Thanks again. We'll see you in the next one.